Good evening, everybody. The City of Grand Haven Regular City Council meeting of September 18th, 2023 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
Cummins,
Here.
McNally.
Here. Our invocation this evening will be delivered by Pastor Emmett Brown of the Trinity Reformed Church of Grand Haven. Would folks please rise with me for the invocation and remain standing after for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Given the weight of what we're anticipating, how about we all just take a deep breath and then let it out all nice and quiet? Remember, we're all in the same town and we're all supposed to be working together, okay? No fighting, no screaming, no name calling, just let's focus on the job at hand. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that you've given us to come together. We thank you for this beautiful town that we get to live in, we get to be a part of. Father, as these proceedings go forward, we pray that sanity prevails. We pray that it is done in a spirit that fosters unity and working together within this community. Father, any hostile feelings, we pray that you would have them been left at the door. We pray that you would help us to remember why we are here, and that is for the good of the city. If we disagree, let us do it in a manner that is respectful to one another. And if we are supportive, let us also do so in a manner that's supportive. Help our council members to remember who it is that they are here to be serving and working for, and help us to go forward in a way that honors the efforts of this town, the efforts of the founders of this town, and also for the glory of your kingdom. In your name, Father, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent and regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Maria, would you please call the roll?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. This time, we've got our first call to the audience, one of two opportunities. Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may dial in at 616-935-3203. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers tonight. Is there anyone who would like to address council?
The name is Randy Borison. Address is 17850 Comstock Street. I'm in Grand Haven Township. Regarding the Board of Light and Power, I would like to say, well, I just have some questions. I'm not a good speaker, but I am for keeping the Board of Light and Power. Their downtime is it's non-existent. Just had a lightning strike in front of the house. They were out within 20 minutes of the strike. Also, I'm concerned, they know how to keep an inventory, what to keep an inventory of, where to get everything. Also, at least over 50% of the Board of Light and Power customers are outside of the city. We should have some sort of vote in whether to dissolve it or not. I'm in Grand Haven Township, but there's Spring Lake Township, Ferrysburg. We should have some sort of input what's going on. I'm very satisfied with the Board of Light and Power, and their response time is just fantastic compared to what Consumers Power has. They're out for days. I don't know how many other people feel this way, but we would like to have some sort of input on what happens. As for the internal things going on, I'm not concerned with that portion of it. Let everybody else work that out. I have no idea what's going on there. Mine is just the speed of service that they offer us and the parts they have in stock. My concern is inventory. I mean, and keeping the people going and up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for coming out tonight.
Good evening. Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to just talk a little bit about the new business, the re-roofing of the building, the DPW building at 1120 Jackson. I just read about it last Thursday, so I ran a quick simulation of solar on it, and it has tremendous potential. You can fit 925 430-watt panels on it. That will generate 509 megawatt hours per year. It's all south-facing, except for the little peaked office. The city and council need to seriously consider putting solar on it. We need to actually do something real in the city. We tend to just keep talking about things, and oh, we're going to study it, and oh, you know, we've got a great environmental company, and maybe in 2 or 3 years we're going to outline the plan that we want to do. But the time to do something is now. We've got tremendous climate change going on continuously. It's not going to get better. This is not something that's going away. It's going to continue to get worse. The city needs to take a leadership position on this. The city administration needs to take a leadership position on it. There's a lot of people in the city who are pushing for city solar and community solar. And that is one building that would just be perfect for it. You look at it, it's in the coal community zone, which means you get an extra 10% of incentive from the federal government. And you know, you can go up to 70% incentives if you take into account low income and nonprofits. And I think this is something that I always hear you guys saying, you know, we've got to do things for our low income people and our nonprofits. You know, nobody can afford to live in the city. Well, here's a chance to do something. So I encourage you to really have the city administration investigate it and then do something. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I think Ashley had a little bit of information on that. I saw your note and asked her this morning. I don't think we got any firm plans, but I think the city has already evaluated whether they could put solar panels on the roof, and under the old roof, it wasn't possible because of the structural issues. But under the new roof, it is possible, and I think they are going to look at it hard, for what it's worth. Okay.
My name is Cecil Bradshaw, and I live at 31 Sherman Avenue here in Grand Haven. The BLP CCC has made many allegations against the management of the BLP over the last several months. I personally think there's always two sides to the story, and the truth is probably somewhere in between. There's so much going on regarding the BLP and the city that I do not understand. For instance, it's been stated that Eagle asked the city to take control of the cleanup issues on the Harbor Island. A representative from Eagle pointed out that the city informed them that they had taken control of the cleanup of the island. It's been stated that the BLP is not contributing to the cost of the cleanup of the island. The BLP has asked for a legal agreement as to how much the city is responsible for and how much the BLP is responsible for. The city has not been willing to engage in that conversation at this point. It's been stated that it would be beneficial for the city and the BLP to engage in professional mediation to resolve issues between the parties. The BLP would welcome that effort, but the city has not seen fit to engage in such mediation. It's been stated that the BLP wanted to build another plant on the island once the Sims plant was demolished. It was the city council that voted to build another plant if the Sims plant was demolished, not a BLP decision. We now have a resolution on the table to be voted on tonight, or at least discussed tonight. I believe we only got to this point because of the past lack of cooperation between our city leaders and the BLP leadership. I believe that there's a shared responsibility in actions that have brought us to this point, which I think is really sad for the city of Grand Haven. I have over the last 2 years seen that the city council has made decisions based on personal agendas and subjective citizen input. As if, for instance, the diesel plant redevelopment was not based on any data, strictly personal agenda and subjective input. I'm really upset that our city has come to conducting this type of legislation because they do not understand how to come together and work out differences in a professional manner. I'm in support of our BLP and their management and employees. As a businessman, I've come to realize that when employees, salaried and union, are in support of the management, the company is most likely very well run. We as citizens of Grand Haven need to look at both sides of the situation and understand the consequences of a transition of oversight of the BLP to city management. Our city management, you guys, already have a boatload of issues to be taken care of, and I certainly do not think that you need to provide our power supply to that list of issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil.
Sarah Schwartz, 202 South 7th Street. Apologies, but I'm just going to read this. Nerves. And I speak from my heart. I really would like to extend my support and my sympathy to the whistleblower at the BLP. The accusations reported in the Grand Haven Tribune are serious. Violating the Open Meetings Act, evading FOIA requests, and misinforming and pressuring employees. Some of these charges may be illegal, others merely unethical. But I believe that no one would make a formal complaint through an attorney unless their conscience left them no other choice. Historically, whistleblowers have not generally fared well. And I am grateful to whoever this brave person who took this action is. I urge the city to investigate these charges promptly and thoroughly. We cannot rely on the Board of Light and Power to investigate itself. The charter amendment on the ballot November 7th that would transition the Board of Light and Power to a city department similar to the other city service departments may, among other benefits, shield us from future whistleblower complaints. Read the proposed amendment at blpccc.com for yourself to see if you agree. Don't rely on mailers, inserts, and door hangers generated by a pricey public relations firm, which, by the way, we consumers pay for to interpret the amendment for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
My name is David Walters, General Manager of the Board of Light and Power. I'm here tonight to speak to Council on Agenda Item 10B. As 3 minutes of public comment is not enough time to adequately address this issue, I will spend my limited time as efficiently as I can to enter 4 items into the public record that I believe Council is aware of, but has not yet asked for or reviewed. As the public does not know, this is not the first BLP employee whistleblower that has an active concern before the BLP. That would be me. Accordingly, the first document I am providing here is a written report I gave to the board during my annual closed session performance appraisal on June 7th, 2023, wherein I state renewed claims that represent potential breaches of my employment agreement and other related concerns. This report concludes by citing the Michigan Whistleblower Protection Act, as I have anticipated retaliation for restating my claims consistent with the conduct I was reporting given the current campaign. The second item is 2 emails dated August 14th and August 15th, 2023 to the board chair with the subject, response to your request to provide a summary statement of my past claims so a more in-depth internal review could be initiated. Something I have requested for 19 months. The third item is a FOIA request dated August 16th, asking for certain correspondence from Board Member Hendrick applicable to my claims as evidence for this review by the BLP. It has now been 22 business days, well past the 15-day FOIA extended deadline, and no documents have been received, although I understand attorneys are sifting through hundreds of pages of potentially applicable public documents. On day 20, late last Thursday, I was notified that Board Member Hendrick and now the whistleblower's private attorney, Sarah Howard, alternatively delivered to the city attorney this new evidence that apparently requires more immediate attention than responding to my FOIA request. However, the city attorney has not yet provided these new whistleblower materials to the board, as would seem appropriate since the whistleblower is an employee of the board, and it appears that the allegations against other employees of the board, not council, would seem to be the employer under the definitions within the Whistleblower Protection Act. Does the proposed resolution then represent discriminatory treatment and thus retaliation by the employer under the Act, as these two instances no doubt have been handled quite differently? I believe so. Finally, I thought it was appropriate to quote a Facebook post of Board Member Hendrick over the weekend, where she expresses the whistleblower allegations against certain individuals at the BLP are extremely disturbing. I strongly support the City Council for pursuing an independent and unbiased investigation into these matters. I hope she will show similar support for such an independent investigation if combined with the ongoing review of her actions by the elected board she is a member of, as appropriate under the Act.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
You can come up, Mac.
Dave, how you doing? I'm going to apologize to all of you. I can see this is going to be an evening where we're going to have some good trouble. I haven't been around here for quite a while. I've been busy solving the climate crisis. I want to speak about something that doesn't have anything to do with the immediate concerns of this meeting. And that is, I want to thank Kathy for her service as our mayor. I probably won't be back at another meeting during your time. My proudest moment as a member of this community was when 28 of us came in to refute the 14 clowns who came from out of town to tell us what the Bible said about sexuality, thereby demonstrating that they knew nothing about either of them. Kathy's door has always been open to me. We've always talked cordially. We've frequently disagreed, but always in the best of spirits, and I'm thankful for her service and thankful for her friendship. I think the other two members I will be seeing again up here. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mac. Todd.
Good evening. I'm Todd Crum, 415 Sandpiper. I'd also like to speak about 10B. I'm not sure a special resolution was needed to move forward with an investigation into the whistleblower allegations. The city charter also states the Board of Light and Power shall have charge of the city's electric services. With two governing bodies sharing the same legal representation, I question why the BLP board members were not part of the discussions into these BLP employee allegations. Given the fact that three of you sitting up there have signed a petition to dissolve the BLP, this raises concerns regarding your voting on BLP matters. Even though not mentioned in your resolution, the BLP shares the same interest, even more so, towards these allegations being thoroughly and independently investigated. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Try to get an end seat next week. Good evening. Mike Westbrook. Good evening. Mike Westbrook, 423 Lafayette Avenue, Grand Haven Board of Light and Power Chair. Also wanted to talk tonight about item 10B on the agenda. The Board of Light and Power takes any whistleblower allegations very seriously. Much like Ms. Sherwood, I personally respect the whistleblower process, both the reporting and the investigation. I've been involved in these claims before in my work history, and I really truly do value the law and the process. This board will protect and respect this whistleblower thoroughly and investigate the allegations impartially. I want to promise you that. Special legal counsel should be immediately retained, and I propose such counsel be retained by the board, as may be approved by the City Council, to conduct a thorough and independent investigation consistent with the board's authority over its employees as established in the city charter. The Board of Light and Power will appropriately be placing this issue on the September 28th agenda, and I ask City Council and our public to support our open and transparent review of this matter at this time. This is exactly what the board was elected to do. Lastly, I firmly believe the investigative process for these allegations must remain apolitical. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey R. Miller. I live at 1120 South Harbor Drive, and I speak to you tonight as a private citizen and as a former spokesman of the Columbus, Ohio Police Department. I wish to speak tonight about item 10B on tonight's agenda. The allegations that are listed against the BLP are extremely serious and warrant a thorough and independent investigation by either an independent law firm with experience in these matters or by a law enforcement agency. I have in the past interacted with city attorneys, county prosecutors, and U.S. district attorneys to know that evidence tampering and witness intimidation can compromise any investigation. Therefore, I would strongly urge that the BLP not conduct their own separate investigation. Since they do not know who the possible offender or offenders are, it would be impossible for the BLP to conduct their own investigation. They have neither the skill sets, experience, nor expertise to conduct a proper investigation. They might even mistakenly empower one or more of the alleged perpetrators to actually investigate themselves, whether it be employees or board members. And even if they were to do their own in-house review, the aforementioned collection of evidence and witness testimony could be tainted. The chairman of the BLP was quoted in the Tribune on Friday as wanting the BLP to be as open and transparent as possible. The best way to achieve this is initiate nothing and facilitate the outside investigative agency conducting the work on behalf of City Council. I applaud the whistleblower for coming forward, whoever he or she is. Every precaution should be made to ensure that he or she is protected and not retaliated against. I am also very sorry that the whistleblower had to go to these apparent lengths to go to an outside agency to get attention. This is a very sad day for our city. However, again, in my opinion, the very abject, insular, independent actions and lack of accountability under which the BLP currently operates have provided the atmosphere in which these alleged allegations fester and manifested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jerry McCaleb, West Olive, Michigan. You know, it's interesting when the first phone call I got is, what is going on with the city council agenda this week? I said, well, I don't know, what are they talking about? And it was this, what is item 10B? As to what's going on with the BLP now. And my first thought when I looked at that is, why is this on the agenda? Why isn't this something that's handled internally rather than blowing it up into a major case, inviting the news media in order to do something, what something should be, first of all, investigated at the BLP level, and possibly in connection with the city council. But to make us like a federal case out of this is like Grand Haven's own version of lawfare is what I would see this. Because you can't, you know, this is so political to do this on days before the election. When they can't beat the BLP on service or rates. So the only thing that's left to do is disparage people that work at the BLP and that manage the BLP. And that's what this is all about. And for people to talk about whistleblowers and hiding things and being, when people on this very council are sending messages using their personal emails instead of their city emails, there's an awful lot of questions around here that should be answered other than this particular one about this particular whistleblower. I'm not disparaging the questions. I'm not disparaging an investigation. I am disparaging the process. The very public process of trying to smear, of the city of Grand Haven trying to smear another board of the city of Grand Haven using a very public process. And I think that this is very disturbing. And I hope that the people of the city can see through this stuff. And when it comes to election day, will not be swayed by the tactics that have been taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, moving on. I'm going to ask the city clerk to read the consent agenda aloud.
Item A, approve council special work session minutes, regular meeting minutes, and closed session minutes of August 21, 2023, special council meeting minutes of August 30, 2023, and special work session meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes, and closed session meeting minutes of September 5. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $4,301,004.55.
I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
So move.
Is there support for that?
Second?
Is there discussion? I'd just like to know I sent a couple of small edits over to Maria, which I didn't get to till this afternoon, so she may not have had a chance, but they're not substantive in any way. Would you call the roll, please, Maria?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay. Item 10, new business.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a resolution to award the low bid contract with Dykevers Roofing, Inc. of Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the not-to-exceed amount of $339,046 for the replacement roof of the RV Terrell Building located at 1120 Jackson Street, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay, I got motion by Cummins. Is there support? Second by McLaughlin. Derek, you got something to tell us about?
Good evening, Your Honor, fellow council member. Derek Gatis, Public Works Director for the City of Grand Haven. We are excited to get a new roof on this building. Some of it dates back to the beginning of the building in 1975, and there's a small portion that's at least 20, if not 25 years old. So the guys are thankful that we budgeted this. We have the funds allocated in the current fiscal year. We had 7 bidders, which was a great showing, and we were well under budget. So we will be looking into future solar opportunities there. We have done that in the past. So I have some decent information to go. Moving forward with a roof replacement at this point doesn't prevent any future solar panels from being added.
That sounds great. Anybody got any questions for Derek? Any discussion by the council before we vote?
Only that, and I appreciate the pursuit of the solar. I think Mr. Hagan made some points. I think this would be, seems like hopefully maybe a project that we could be a leader with some solar, as long as the roof will support it. So is the roof being rebuilt in a way that might support it? Or is that something that was kind of thought about?
So structurally, it will support it no matter what. The actual improvements besides the rubber membrane is to actually bring it up to insulation codes.
Okay.
So we're going from like an R5 to an R30. So that hopefully will help some of the heating costs in the winter. But no, we're fine with that. We actually did a study 3+ years ago on all city roofs, and we just didn't have anything that was really prime to be able to do that. This was the most prominent one. There are some quirks and kinks with doing that, and with the rebates and the purchasing backs, but we'll figure all that out and make the best of it when we get there.
Okay. And apologies if I misunderstood. I thought part of it was a structural concern a few years ago looking at this roof. So thank you for that clarification. So.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Maria, please call the roll.
Cummins?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes. Item B, for when you get a chance, Maria.
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to seek an independent investigation into whistleblower allegations concerning the Board of Light and Power.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So move.
I'll support. Support.
Yeah, motion by McLaughlin, second by Lowe. Discussion. I understood that council members Cummins and Lowe put this on the agenda, so maybe they could lead the discussion.
Actually, I'd like to ask the city clerk to read the full resolution.
A resolution to seek an independent investigation into whistleblower allegations concerning the Board of Light and Power. Whereas the Grand Haven City Charter designates the city's electric utility facilities and services as a department of the city government. Whereas the charter states, subject to the general direction of the City Council, the Board of Light and Power, the BLP, shall have charge of the city's electric services and shall organize and conduct the affairs of the city's systems for the generation, purchase, and distribution of electric light and power in a manner consistent with the best practices, therefore. Whereas the charter states that upon the city attorney's recommendation or upon its own initiative, the City Council may provide for an assistant to the city attorney and may retain special legal counsel to handle any matter in which the city has an interest or to assist the city attorney. Whereas a BLP employee, through their attorney, has come forward as a whistleblower, to the city attorney alleging misconduct by the BLP, including but not limited to the following. After receiving a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request, the BLP coordinated an attempt to delete email records related to the request. The BLP considered and decided to pursue the permanent deletion of documents and email records to avoid disclosure per FOIA. The BLP has repeated false and misleading statements to its employees regarding a proposed charter amendment. The BLP has at least attempted to avoid compliance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. The BLP has pressured employees to sign a letter, to contribute funds, and to distribute door signs, all opposed to the proposed charter amendment. Whereas the city attorney has received evidence from the whistleblower to at least tentatively support these claims. And whereas the City Council has been advised by the city attorney that recent BLP presentations and mailings regarding a proposed charter amendment may have included illegal statements under the Michigan election law. Now therefore be it resolved that 1, if true, the allegations against the BLP may be violations of criminal and civil laws. The city has an interest in these allegations being thoroughly and independently investigated. 2, the City Council wishes to retain special legal counsel and directs the city manager to recommend an independent attorney, excluding the city attorney, to conduct an investigation into all whistleblower allegations and possible violations of Michigan election law by the BLP. The independent attorney need not be an attorney with the firm of Dickinson Wright, PLLC. 3, the city attorney shall notify the Michigan Attorney General of all whistleblower allegations and suspected violations of Michigan election law. 4, the whistleblower shall receive all protections afforded to them by law and shall not be retaliated against in any way. 5, All resolutions and parts of resolutions in conflict herewith are, to the extent of such conflict, repealed.
You want to start, Karen?
Sure, I can begin. I think I'm feeling what everyone is in this room. These were very uncomfortable allegations to be put forth to City Council. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate that we are in this position that we have to make a decision. It's clear that public trust is broken in our community. We can look to the Grand Haven area public schools, the embezzlement that occurred there. We can look to the local hospital and what happened there. Inaction is not really a way to reestablish public trust. BLP Chairman Mike Westbrook made a public statement at our last City Council meeting, and I quote, "The best way for the community to resolve these questions, allegations and false statements, is to have public discussions to correct any misinformation using the public record as appropriate." Chairman Westbrook, I heard you and I agree with you 100%, which is why these allegations have to be publicly disclosed, which is why we need an independent investigation. It's clear based on some of the allegations that some members of the BLP board could be involved, which is why it is inappropriate for the BLP board to investigate themselves. As a result, it falls to City Council, and I believe it is in the best interest of the public to have an independent attorney investigate these allegations. I also believe that if the allegations are untrue, then it is also in the best interest of the BLP to cooperate with and allow this independent investigation. Guess I'll start from there, Your Honor.
I guess I'll just kind of run through some of my kind of thinking. Obviously, there's a lot of history here, and you know, some folks kind of brought that up tonight and concerns that this is somehow, you know, politics or something along those lines. So I do want to kind of review a little bit of history first, and then I'll kind of speak specific to the resolution that's before us. So, you know, the council's been criticized for somehow, like, you know, picking at the Board of Light and Power, but it's been others who have evaluated certain conduct by the Board of Light and Power who have brought things forth. For example, in March 2022, the Michigan Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Department, our state environmental regulators, took action against the BLP for violating several environmental protection laws. Specifically, Eagle staff alleged that the Grand Haven Board of Light and Power is in violation as follows. Failure to cease acceptance of coal ash at the impoundments and begin closure within 180 days after the confirmation of the presence of groundwater contamination above the maximum contamination levels or groundwater protection standards. They allege failure to properly certify, close, or apply for and receive a license for the impoundments, operation of an open dump, and the management, maintenance, or operation of a disposal area without an operating license, and failure to conduct a timely and appropriate detection, monitoring, and response action plan preparation. Eagle concluded that the violations were, quote, significant and require a formal resolution. That was brought to the council, and the council then had to take action, work with an environmental attorney to, and we still are in negotiations for a consent agreement in which the BLP has refused to participate. And then in the fall of 2022, the city's Human Relations Commission, a separate board from this council, was brought a complaint, and they investigated a gender discrimination complaint against the BLP. And while it did not have enough evidence to support discrimination, it stated in its investigation report related to discrimination, quote, "We cannot rule out the possibility, nor can we discount the complaint that was raised. What this investigation has determined is that there is a pattern of highly concerning behaviors, not only by members of the board of directors, but also by the administrative staff," end quote. In fact, during the HRC investigation, they ran into roadblocks from the BLP, and they stated in the report, quote, "If this had been any other investigative body, these actions by BLP staff would be under review for obstruction or at least lack of cooperation. Either the staff of the BLP is so inadequately trained as to be a liability, or they deliberately stalled to prevent the HRC's receiving information that would have aided its investigation," end quote. That was brought to us from our HRC. We can't ignore these reports that come our way. And recently, the BLP was warned in recent months by the city attorney about what was allowable and what was inappropriate as far as Michigan campaign finance and election laws, and that legal advice has been ignored. And now we have numerous alleged violations by a whistleblower that, if true, would be violations of civil and criminal laws. Frankly, I'm concerned that we're here again tonight talking about alleged misconduct by our BLP that were brought to us, once again, from another person. The BLP is a department of our city government. They are part of our team. If any department does wrong, that reflects poorly upon this city government and, frankly, our community. I spent over 6 years in state government, including 4 years as a Child Protective Services investigator. And for 2 of those years, I oversaw a unit of 5 Child Protective Services investigators. I was responsible for making sure investigations were conducted thoroughly, with integrity and due process. And for the last 11 years, I have served seasonally with the Marine Unit of the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, where I've held the same principles. And that is exactly what I intend to do tonight with these whistleblower allegations. I want to thank the whistleblower for their tremendous courage in bringing these allegations forward and trust that they will be properly investigated. Bringing these allegations in a resolution has brought transparency to the whistleblower allegations, which were brought to the council's attention on September 5th. These allegations involve both members of management and some members of the BLP board. The BLP is a department of the city government. They're subject to the city council's general direction, and only the council has the authority under our charter to hire special counsel to handle any matter in which the city has an interest. An independent investigation takes the city council, our BLP, and our city attorney out of it. And aside from the city manager offering a recommendation on who to select, the city manager will not be involved. The special counsel will report to the council. An independent investigation guarantees the integrity of the investigation. It ensures a full and thorough investigation and protects due process of everyone involved. This resolution requires that the city attorney make a report of all whistleblower allegations and possible violations of Michigan's election laws to the Michigan Attorney General so they can investigate for any criminal wrongdoing. And while a significant amount of evidence has been shared with the city attorney, and the city attorney has met with the whistleblower and their attorney, these do remain allegations at this point. I'm committed to making sure the findings of this independent investigation will be released to the public in their entirety upon its conclusion for full transparency.
Mike?
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Karen. Question for the lawyer. Is this normal procedures for a whistleblower? I've never done this before and I just want to get some statements. Is it usually go through like this, or do we go to the state attorney general or the prosecuting attorney? Is that more of an outlet for us? For the simple fact is that it doesn't pertain to us. They're independent on their own. They do the research and that instead of us. We've had such not really good recourse back and forth with a few members of the BLP and also a few members of council. And if we go outside and go to the state attorney general or we go to a prosecuting attorney outside of this, it would be more of an appropriate, I think it'd be more of an appropriate way to go. Let them do the thing. You work for the government. You did the same thing when you're doing that. I trust them better than I would having us being the ones initiating a lawyer and that and some other firm coming in and doing it. I would like to see the state attorney general or the prosecuting attorney move forward on this myself personally. I think it'd be better for all of us to get an actually good picture of it. Is that capable?
I'm sorry, are you asking me a question of what
Yes,
is
I want to know, because
or-
I don't know how it goes, but I'm
Okay.
just throwing in there that I would like to see it that way. Is it possible we can do that instead of going us, them, and everybody else and getting the town all revved up and that? I just think if it's a whistleblower and the allegations are somewhat, I'd rather see it go outside. Is that what we normally do, or is this normal for us to go out and do a private investigation?
Okay, it is possible to refer the matter to the, or at least some of the matters, I'm not sure about all of the matters, some of the matters could certainly be referred to the prosecuting attorney. Likewise, some of the matters at least could be referred to the Attorney General. Prosecuting attorneys historically are not anxious to be involved in cases like these. They're not within their wheelhouse, not within their normal duties. Attorney General's office does repeatedly do these kinds of investigations, and they would probably take a couple of years or so to do it. It would not be a fast track for sure. In any event, it would take a council decision, a council resolution to make a determination of which way you wanted to go. If you wanted to go with the Attorney General, you wanted to send it to the prosecutor, or if you wanted to send it to a special attorney, only you can hire a special attorney, as you know, under the charter. So it will take a council decision, and that obviously entails a public discussion as we're having now, and involves all of the emotions that come with that. So I would not say that the norm would be to send it to the prosecuting attorney or to the Attorney General out of the box. I would say the norm would be to do an internal investigation.
Yeah, because I called the Attorney General and got a message back, but they haven't called me. I left a message with them to get back with me on this subject, so it takes them a while to get back. They're very busy, and they said they would be glad to get back to me within the next couple of days. That's where I'm at. I just like to know exactly where they're at. Because if they can fast track it or if they can move it, she was just here. We should have probably mentioned something to her maybe if we had any idea, but it would have been nice to press her button a little bit while she was here. I just find it hard that we are making the decision here, and I know it follows the charter and whatever you want to say, but the thing of it is, I like to see it move out myself personally. Prosecuting attorney or state attorney general.
You good, Mike?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay, Kevin?
Ron, although it's kind of outlined in the resolution, can you just kind of give the public how we got to this point and what happened so that I think everybody can get their arms around how serious we're taking this, if you can?
Well, I can. Part of how we got here involved a closed session with you on September 5. Right. And that's your privilege. I'm not going to talk about that unless I'm given permission to talk about that. Whatever answers I give, whatever responses I give to any of the accusations thrown out or statements made, I have to stay within the bounds of my ethical obligations to my clients.
Can I stop you there, Ron? Does anybody have any problem with him talking about the closed session? Then I'm free to authorize him to talk about the closed session.
You're seeing all of us? Or?
Yep.
You okay with
Okay.
that?
Well, then maybe three or 4 weeks ago, I received a phone call from an attorney representing an alleged whistleblower with the BLP, and I was told that there was a tremendous number of documents that would come to my attention, and that there would be very serious allegations. My response to the attorney was, just telling me about this is going to, at some point, put me in a position where I'm obligated to advise both the City Council and the BLP, because there are shared responsibilities as to the operation of the BLP according to the city charter, and both would have obligations, City Council and the BLP board. But I said I will wait because I'd like to have some of the, I'd like to at least see the documentation or have you provide me with whatever you can so that I'm not just going to city council or the BLP board with a, hey, I got a phone call and there's something coming. So I did wait until the day of September 5, or maybe at the afternoon of Labor Day, September 4, when I reached out to the other attorney and said, I am meeting with City Council the next night, September 5, in a closed session. And the purpose of that, and I can say this because it was in your motion to go into closed session, was to consider what City Council should do with regard to the BLP's continued misstatements or inappropriate statements regarding the charter amendment to be voted upon in November. And my comment to the attorney for the whistleblower was, that discussion is inevitably going to put me in a position where I'm going to have to advise City Council of what is potentially out there, because they should not make a decision on the election activities without having the information that there is a potential whistleblower out there. That's unfair for me to allow the City Council to make that decision without that information. So I was then given an email from, through the attorney, from the whistleblower with allegations about a FOIA response and about documents being destroyed rather than being provided in response to the FOIA request, and a request to establish a system of document elimination at the BLP. I was given that before September 5 when I met with you in closed session. In closed session, as you'll recall, you were asking me, what can we do about the election issues with the BLP? My response to you was, I really don't want you to do anything about that. I don't know that enough of the public knows about the details and the niceties of election law here. It would be a very muddy situation. Allegations would be made, defenses would be thrown back. The public would have a negative reaction. Everybody would look bad. No one would be looking good in a situation like that, so please don't do that. And I said to you, and another reason why I don't want you to get involved in the election allegations is that there is potentially something larger coming. And I have an email from a whistleblower indicating that there were some improper responses to at least one FOIA request. There was at least an attempt to have the elimination of documentation on an earlier basis than the law would require or allow under the Michigan retention schedule. So we agreed that I would be given an opportunity to accumulate the information, further information from the whistleblower's attorney, and that once I had that, I would go to you in response, and I would go to the BLP in response and say, here's what I have. I received that, or our IT people at my firm had to get the material and put it in a form where I could access it. And the material included over 200,000 emails. And I had access to them on Tuesday morning a week ago tomorrow. And at the same time, there were two council members who said, we need to take action on this sooner rather than later. Am I,
So-
if anyone has a problem with anything I'm saying, raise your hand and I'll just stop.
So Ron, when you say 200,000 emails, that is the bulk of the emails that someone's going to need to go through. That's what, is there a screening process that you see this investigation
Those were
taking?
non-duplicative emails.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but all I'm saying is there a screening process by which someone's actually going to be able to go through these emails? And do we have a sense of what kind of expertise should go through these emails?
There is an indication that there is a particular file of 6,000 emails that would be especially pertinent. I can tell you that, so that cuts it down significantly. But in any event, with the knowledge that this was going to be placed on the agenda for tonight, I had that knowledge as of at some point Tuesday afternoon or evening or something like that. And I knew that I had 200,000 emails, and maybe I could take a look at 6,000. But I also knew that your agenda goes out Thursday afternoon. So essentially, I had a day and a half.
And Ron, can I just say one thing? It seemed like at the initial meeting that we all had in our closed session, your advice at that point was you were going to meet with the whistleblower's attorney, sort out what there was, and then go to the BLP and inform them of the allegations and talk about what should be done. That was never done, is that correct?
Well,
you were overtaken by time. I'm not saying you should have done it. What I'm saying is we are pushing this forward on a timetable that didn't allow you to talk to the BLP, to inform the BLP of the allegations and sort out what they might be able to do to manage or to investigate.
Well, I was driven by events, and with
And
a
the
time
events
schedule.
were that two of the council members put it on the agenda, were in the process of putting it on the agenda for this meeting. Is that
I knew
accurate?
that was the plan, to put it on the agenda for this evening, and I knew the packet was going out on Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
So rather than even try to assimilate 200,000 emails or even 6,000 emails and try and read them, figure out what the theory was, to connect the dots, all of that, and try and make sense to it, I called the BLP attorney, or the BLP whistleblower attorney, and said, look, I don't have time to go through these emails before this is going to become public. So I want to meet with you and the whistleblower as soon as possible and discuss these things, because I'm not going to do a half-baked review of the emails and try and get some semblance and have absolutely just be floundering with what's the real story, what's the whole story, what am I missing? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go public without having an adequate review of the emails, so I'm not going to do an inadequate review of the emails. I'm going to meet with you if you're willing. She was willing. And so Thursday morning, I met for 2.5 hours with the whistleblower and the attorney for the whistleblower. And I got a sense of where to look, a sense of the general allegations. I got as much as I could in a 2-hour discussion, 2.5-hour discussion, which pretty much went until close to noon. So at that point, I at least knew what the general structure of the allegations were, and that is reflected in the resolution. I drafted this portion of the resolution. And then Ashley and I talked about the fact that the BLP should not read this in the packet that was released late Thursday afternoon, and my recommendation to her was that she would be the better person to have a discussion with BLP officials rather than me, because of my desire to lower the temperature, and I didn't think my discussion with the BLP officials would lower the temperature. So we wanted to make sure that the BLP was not caught blindside with just reviewing the packet. And they were given a heads up, and the packets went out and the resolutions were included.
And I'm just asking this to make it clear. You still haven't had an opportunity to sit down with the BLP board members and explain to them the information you've collected. We've gotten some piece of that here at council early on, but before we had a lot of information. But BLP, you never had an opportunity to sit down with the BLP board and give them the same information you gave us.
I did have an opportunity to sit down with the BLP board president. I did not have an opportunity to sit down with the BLP board.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that that was done.
Well, I want to be, the presence of the BLP president at that meeting was a surprise to me. Did not know he was going to be there on Friday morning.
I'm not aware of the Friday morning meeting. So who did you meet with on Friday morning?
Did you not read my email this morning?
Probably not. Well,
Okay,
I've been
all right.
prepping for this meeting tonight.
All right. I was asked to attend a week ago. I was asked by the BLP if I could come to a meeting at 10 o'clock at the BLP on Friday morning. I did that. And I asked, what is it about? What can I review? What should I be considering? How can I prepare? And I was told, show up. So I showed up. I met with the human resources person. The board president was there, unbeknownst to me. We talked about the original whistleblower case, which has been discussed tonight. I was asked to keep that confidential. I assume that obligation is no longer an issue, given that it's been talked about tonight. I answered questions about the original whistleblower allegation. Was asked how I could help with that, but I was not given any information or any details about what the allegations were. I was just asked to explain the whistleblower law in general, which I have done. And there was no other discussion of the specific allegations of the first whistleblower, nor was there any discussion of this whistleblower resolution before you tonight.
Kevin, did you have anything else? Yeah, I had a couple of points I guess I wanted to make, which is these are serious allegations and they do need to be investigated, no question. And the question is at what level they should be investigated. And I guess I want people to understand, if it's true, that there's a range of potential, if the allegations are substantiated, there's a range of potential actions that the BLP and/or the city could take. And they include performance evaluations, they include, discipline, employee discipline, they include referring for a criminal, to a criminal case and seeing if anyone was interested in prosecuting these criminally. But really it is a range of things that could come out of this, if they're substantiated. So what I understood when you left us 2 weeks ago at our last meeting was that you would sit down with the BLP and told them what you knew, and you would talk to the BLP about how this should be investigated, and you would come back to us and talk to us about how this would be investigated. But this item ended up put on the agenda without really either of those things happening. And that's the only point I want to make, that we're compressing the time frame for this in a way that from my perspective, isn't a good idea, because if you want to investigate something thoroughly, you give it to an investigator, and you let the investigator conduct their investigation, and you don't really comment publicly on what's going on until you figure out whether you got anything and how you think it should be handled. So the other
Mayor?
thing, hang on,
Yeah.
Karen. The other thing I guess I would kind of like to ask you, Ron, is how you see, when I ask what expertise do you see necessary for this investigation, do you see us hiring an attorney to go through 200,000 emails? Because to me, that seems extraordinary expensive. I mean, I'm guessing we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. When we pass a resolution that says we're going to hire an attorney to do this, I would, before we even consider that, I would like to have some idea of what shape our city attorney thinks that investigation might take.
Well, I think actually we discussed I think I can say this safely, in the closed session, we discussed the fact that it would be expensive to do an investigation, and I did not have an idea of 200,000 emails at that time. I did not know that. Is it going to be an expensive investigation? Yes. Are there are law firms, I personally know there are law firms with programs that can run all kinds of search engines with regard to ferreting out specific things. I'm not sure. I'm not one who does that, so I'm not sure whether someone would have to actually sit down and read 200,000 emails to figure that out. I do not believe that's the case. Maybe at some point, but I'm not sure that that would be necessary to reach a conclusion. I think that there would be a lot of electronic ways to conduct that search and do it in as efficiently as a way possible. But that search by itself will not be cheap.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out what we're voting on, because.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead,
May I
Karen.
comment? I guess I would like to say two things. First of all, as a former general manager of IBM, I can tell you, yes, there are searchable ways to use technology to very, very easily, and it would require the investigator, and I'm sure if we get an appropriate investigator, they will know how to do that. It is not through reading every single email. Secondly, I think, Your Honor, you were asking how this went from our closed session, which the city attorney has explained what transpired and how we got to, and it was Mayor Pro Tem Cummins and I, and certainly I take full responsibility. I was extremely uncomfortable with the liability associated with these allegations, and I also recognized that public trust was eroded. I saw that there could be nothing good coming from City Council keeping this to ourselves without having some kind of independent investigation. And because there is some alleged involvement of the BLP board, it was inappropriate for them to oversee this. So as much as I do not want to be in the position that we are tonight, it was my duty to the public, to our community, to disclose these actions and identify a path with Mayor Pro Tem Cummins, City Manager Lash, and the city attorney, an appropriate way to move forward so that we could fulfill our obligation to the community, as well as, refer. And if you look at the resolution, it says that we will also refer, we will be conducting our independent investigation, and as you heard from the city attorney, that is rather typical that we would conduct our own independent investigation. We would also have the city attorney notify the Michigan Attorney General of all whistleblower allegations and suspected violations of Michigan election laws. So in answer to your question, Councilmember Fritz, we are doing both. We're taking the appropriate action that, based on my experience in the private sector, the employer would take, or that as high as you can go up, where there is clearly there's no involvement or no alleged involvement. So in my mind, we are handling this in the most independent and transparent way possible. And I will say, what really brought it home for me was BLP Chairman Westbrook's comments. You asked specifically that we get this out in the public and we do this in the most transparent way possible. This is the most transparent way that we felt that was in the best interest of both the BLP and the public. Thank you.
Ron, can you give us any idea of what you've seen that says BLP board members are involved in this? Is there actually substantiation of that? I mean, just maybe you could just say you've seen something or you haven't seen something.
Well, let me refer to the resolution, because that's a public document.
Yep.
And the resolution includes allegations of violations of the Open Meetings Act. That would involve board members. I mean, only the board members are subject to the Open Meetings Act.
I understand that there are allegations of that. I guess what I'm asking, have you seen any substantiation of the allegation?
I have not pursued any substantiation because I have not tried to, I've decided not to spend my time or your money on floundering around in 200,000 emails or 6,000 emails. I had a discussion with the whistleblower and the whistleblower's attorney, and I acted on that because that's what time allowed.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions for Ron?
Maybe not questions for Ron, but what really bothers me the most is that when we were in closed session, it was a 5-person telling us that we were going to let Ron do his job, and we rushed him through it, which I don't think it was a correct thing for this council to do, to rush it through to him and make him make a quick decision when we already told him to go ahead and consult with the BLP in that. It really bothers me the most is that none of us, only 2, decided that they want to move it forward, even though it was a consensus of all 5 of us making that decision that we would let Ron do his job, gave him specific orders on what to do, and we all said yes to it, and then all of a sudden things have changed. It really bothers me that we have to do something like this without, following what we all agreed upon. It's not right.
Okay. I agree, Mike. Anybody got anything else?
Well, along those lines, I think Councilmember Lowe and I worked closely with the city attorney throughout the week and asked, I think, a lot of questions. We met with him after, virtually after his meeting with the whistleblower and the whistleblower's attorney, and asked him some questions to make sure that he felt that there was at least a credible complaint being made. Our city attorney gathered quite a bit of detail verbally from the whistleblower. And as the city attorney indicated, wrote what he believes at least were allegations that, should be looked into. And the city attorney did provide this entire council with an update last Thursday, and that he indicated that he was comfortable with the way that this resolution was written. I don't think that it would have been appropriate to spend thousands of dollars on our city attorney going through emails to then turn around and have an independent investigator do the same thing, considering all of the criticism that our city attorney has faced from our Board of Light and Power. I think that, for me, what kind of hit home, Mike, was last Sunday, what happened with Michigan State University. In their case, they at least initiated an independent investigation, but had some pretty serious allegations come out several months later. I felt that, from my perspective, that it was appropriate to, because if we had brought this out 2 weeks from now, we would have been accused of, putting something out there closer to the election. It was important to, bring this forth, have an independent look at this, take all of us out of it, and have somebody else take a look at this and then report back, and we'll see what the findings are. So.
What I'm saying is, Ryan, is that the simple fact is that the five of us made a decision to have Ron do his job, gave him specific orders to do. I'm sure he sent out emails. I'm not in favor of emails. I tell you what, because you can't converse on things that you want to say. If you want a closed session, we can do a closed session. But when you start talking on emails, that's what you do. You have the FOIA requests and everything's there. So we should have had Ron call. We could have called a special session, and we could have gotten together, and he could have reported it all to us before we put this on the agenda, so we at least know. I don't like reading it. I don't like emails back and forth like that. I think it's much more appropriate for us to talk to the attorney face to face and get the exact words from him.
That's fair.
Myself. But just by doing that, I just don't think it was right for us to do that for the rest of the council members. If we sat in that meeting and said that that's what we're going to do. Ron was going to get back to us, and he's going to report to us as it was.
I'd like to just respond to that because I had a different takeaway from that meeting. And since we're allowed to share, I was very disturbed by what was said in the meeting. And I was trying to do and I agree that we were all trying to follow the city attorney's advice to basically do nothing at this point until further. I believe what I heard the mayor say during that meeting was that she did not think the city attorney should be involved at all. And so that also concerned me because I didn't understand how we would get to the next step if he was not to be involved.
I don't think I ever said he shouldn't be involved, but I guess I did say I think there are some potential conflicts.
You did
aware.
indeed, yeah, you did indeed say that. And so that caused some worry, and that's why, as I started to think about it, I thought the best move ahead was to engage an independent attorney as soon as possible, not put this on the city attorney, not put this on the city manager, and take us all out of it. And as Chairman Westbrook said, take the political process out of it, get it out there, but act on our responsibility, our duty to do what is right in this case and thoroughly investigate these allegations. So I stand by that. So I just wanted to state that I think we were all uncomfortable with what happened at that meeting. I don't know that we all came to a voting agreement that we have to wait. I heard we have to wait. We were warned to wait, and we were following the city attorney's, advice.
We were going to
But
give
it
the
was-
city attorney
it was feeling-
some opportunity to inform the BLP. It is a matter that affects the BLP in a very grave way, and we didn't even give the city attorney an opportunity to sit down with his client, the BLP, and we pushed this forward. And when you say taking politics out of it, I don't think that's how you take politics out of it. We pushed this forward before our city attorney had a chance to sit down with the BLP board and tell them what he'd learned and talk to them about what ought to be done. And honestly, I just don't think that's right.
There were many questions that I had independently, and Mayor Pro Tem Cummins had about the whistleblower, whether or not they had requested anonymity, whether or not they had actually officially filed, a claim. We had, information the night of but we didn't have full information. And so I had sufficient anxiety about that I contacted City Manager Latch and asked, had a number of follow-up emails with which she had the city attorney.
And both the city manager and the city attorney said, advised against, but you moved forward anyway.
That was during the meeting. That was before, again, we got the answers to some follow-up questions. And at that point, they were comfortable by Thursday in terms of moving ahead with what we had drafted.
I would just add that the part I was not comfortable with, again, was the fact that the board was not made aware of the allegations prior to the resolution. I did speak to the board chair and the general manager, but that was as the agenda was published, just to clarify that timeline.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we did have after I met with the whistleblower and the whistleblower's attorney Thursday morning, then we did have a Zoom meeting with the two council people who wanted this on the agenda, and I was asked what I had observed from the whistleblower. We discussed the timing at that point. And my comment was, my recommendation was what it was, but ultimately, that's a policy decision that I don't get to make. I will give legal advice, and I have stated my opinion about a policy matter, but that's not a legal matter, and that's something that two council people may put something on an agenda. That's not a city attorney role.
Understood.
And to be clear for the public, the reason why it was limited discussion is we would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act if anyone other than Mayor Pro Tem Cummins and I had a discussion about this. And that is why it wasn't included, made a full council discussion. That, Councilmember Fritz is correct. We would have had to schedule out into the future a special meeting and notice that in order to have that happen in that way.
I'm glad you guys took it upon yourselves to do what we not all agreed to do. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maria, please call the roll.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
I'm very difficult on this. I know it's very serious allegations, and I just don't like the idea of us. I really still think the state attorney general should be the way to go. But these are serious allegations, and we should probably move forward a little bit with it. But I'm going to vote no on this for the simple fact is I don't think we should be the way we did this was absolutely wrong.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
No. Okay. Item 11. Unfinished business. Maria, would you read it for us, please?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, can you remind the audience that speaking at this time is not permitted?
Yeah. Would everybody please settle down? Thank you.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a final resolution to amend the zoning map, rezoning 626 Columbus Ave, parcel number 70-03-21-353-002 from Old Town OT to Neighborhood Mixed Use NMU and within the Centertown Overlay District. Planning Commission recommends approval. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second?
Is there discussion?
I think we discussed it before.
Yeah, we have discussed it before. I will say that I actually finally went down and took a look at this. It's on Columbus, just west of 7th Street, and I was a little concerned because there's 3 residential houses in a row. There's the railroad tracks, then a residential house, then this house, and then another residential house owned by the same owner. And they're across the street from residential houses. And I just wanted to make sure, I asked Ashley this morning, I said, if they were asking for like a zoning variance, there would have been a public hearing, there would have been public notice, and they would have actually gotten mailings to their addresses. And I asked her if she would check to see if that was done, because I know that Planning Commission said they didn't get any input, but I didn't know what kind of notice went out. Ashley confirmed with Brian that all the neighbors were notified, and there was a public hearing done at the Planning Commission level, and it doesn't look like there's a groundswell of opposition in that neighborhood, and it looks like it could be a good thing for Centertown. So that's call the roll, Maria.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay, report by City Council. Who would like to start? No volunteers? How about Kevin tonight?
Geez, I got nothing.
Okay, Ryan?
A few things. First being that I've been kind of watching closely at what's occurring at the county level and discussions that have been occurring related to the health department budget. I did send an email to the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners expressing my concerns a few weeks ago. I hope that the rest of council is paying attention and also will share their views with our Board of Commissioners as well if they have concerns. I think that the proposed cuts would have an impact on our community and our public health. Appreciated Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel for her visit to Grand Haven to speak with us about our different kind of environmental concerns that we have. We talked about Harbor Island. We talked about pollution kind of being at the end of the Grand River here and pollution coming down. We talked about somebody raised concerns with septic inspections and wanting a requirement that they be done more often than simple changes of ownership. And so I think we had a really good discussion. She seemed to have a good understanding of our concerns. Her office has taken some, I think, good action against PFAS manufacturers to try to hold them accountable for creating these chemicals in the first place. And so I'm hopeful that we'll maybe be a recipient of future funds if they prevail in the courts on that matter. So attended the boards and commission appreciation event that was a little bit different this year during COVID. That kind of went away, and we used to have that at the community center. But our staff, we have some new ideas that came about, and they held it at the Waterfront Stadium and had some food trucks and some beverages for purchase. The musical fountain had a special presentation for us, and so really appreciate the team's work on that and appreciating provide to our community. We don't have the team that we do here without them, so thank you for your work on that. And then I also want to thank our city clerk for her advocacy to the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners as well, as it related to really a very collaborative agreement amongst the different clerks and our county clerk. It's rare, I would think, to get clerks from Republicans, Democrats, nonpartisans from across the county to all agree on an agreement and to work collaboratively with our county clerk on an agreement. So thank you for your advocacy and hopeful that agreement will pass the board soon. So thank you.
Karen?
I echo some of your comments and thank the city clerk for her advocacy there. I guess the only other thing I can add to the comments are that Councilmember Fritz and I were very honored to carry the banner for the Grand Haven Hispanic Heritage Fiesta that was on Saturday, which was an amazing success. I don't know if any of you got out there, but it was absolutely wonderful. We were able to kick off the parade, but if you were there for the rest of the day, you saw just how crowded and just how wonderful and lively all of the events were that evening. So again, I want to congratulate the organizers on having a terrific event and having it here in Grand Haven. That's all.
Mike? How are the Tigers doing?
Tigers. Well, it's getting closer to Cabrera's ending. And hopefully I can get him to sign my picture yet. I'll bring that in someday and show you. I had the opportunity to stand on the field with him and have a picture taken with him.
Nice.
It had my brother, my daughter, and my son with us at that time. That's the Tiger part. Yes, Karen, it was quite an honor. We even recruited my wife to hold the center of the banner up for us as we were walking. And if it shows the diversity of our town here, when you can open up a town and see everybody just flooding in from all over. My brother-in-law, which is Hispanic, is down in Battle Creek, and they did their fiesta down there, and they did, first time they ever did a parade, with their flags and that, and he helped organize that. He wanted to be here because they had Bobby Pilato here, which is a Grammy winner singer for him. And all the people down there in Battle Creek were telling him, saying, hey, we got to get to Grand Haven because they have Bobby here, you know, in the whole Hispanic community. So if you looked at the stadium when he was playing, I've never seen that many people in that stadium for all the concerts that we've had here. It filled that place up. It was standing room only. It was unbelievable how they came from all over. They were coming from Kalamazoo, Battle Creek. They were coming from Illinois. They come from all over here. The people I've met, they came here because they felt welcome to be here in Grand Haven. It was really, really good. And I want to say thank you for the clerk for showing up to the Ottawa County and letting them know how important it really is for us, the elections. It needs to be, it's a law that we've passed, we got to follow through with it. It's just, I'm glad you stood up there, Maria. Ashley, what a great day, huh? But I'm still disappointed. I've been looking at the lawyers' fees that we've been paying for the last year and a half. If anybody's ever interested, find out what's been going on in this council and how much money we've actually spent on lawyer fees this last year and a half. It's astronomical. The 20 years I've been here has never accomplished what we have today. If you talk about being fiscal responsible, we need to be more responsible in finding out how to take care of this lawyers' fees, because we are actually spending way too much. We need to be more staying away from calling them all the time. We need to have trust in our city manager and our staff to do it, making personal phone calls. Ron, how many phone calls have you gotten from me?
You never call me.
Amen.
I would say, though,
I know, because I have to have a lawyer myself. I know what it costs. And if I need to, I go through the channels like I should. I shouldn't make personal phone calls.
You know, the other thing you and I have talked about is Tigers and Tri-City Kids League. I would say, though, certainly the attorney fees this year are out of the ordinary by far.
Yes.
Because of the environmental matters. That is completely skewing the number. It is not the normal day-to-day city attorney work that is driving those numbers to the extremes that they are. It is the environmental work on Harbor Island by an environmental attorney who charges a whole lot more than a municipal attorney.
No, I'm just talking about the personal ones that we have here for us.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at the total, you're seeing the environmental expenses.
It's astronomical.
And we're still waiting on reimbursement for some of our environmental attorney fees. So,
But anyways, I'm disappointed in my fellow members tonight. As I expressed my concern earlier of what we made a decision to do and moving forward. So I'm just disappointed, and that's all I have for tonight. Other than that, I tell you, one more thing. It's going to get warm.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, good to know. All right, I just have a couple things. I also wanted to thank the staff particularly for the hard work they did to put the boards and commissions dinner together, the recognition dinner. And I want to thank the boards and commissions volunteers. I think in the past it was a more formal event. When I came in, then City Manager Pat McGinnis, we were at the tail end of the pandemic, and he said to me, "Do you think we should start it?" And I kind of looked at him and I said, "I don't think we need a reason to meet inside all together when we're still masking." And so this year, when they asked, I said, "Can we do it outside?" So I liked the venue, something you guys can decide keep or don't keep, but I think it was executed very well by the city clerk's office and the city clerk, and I really appreciate their work. And I looked at, I'm just going to say, the talent assembled among our boards and commissions volunteers that attended, and I tried to walk around and greet most and thank most, but we have some incredible talent that's donated to this city, and it really is an enormous part of the success of this community is the people who come out and serve often without thanks, certainly without pay, and just because, and they do it out of the love of this community. And Maria, I wanted to also thank you for your work on the elections initiative that the county clerk is trying to orchestrate, and hopefully eventually we'll get support out of the county commission. We talked a little bit to Dana Nessel about that as well, because there are concerns that elections should be left as apolitical as humanly possible. And I know you support that, and I appreciate your leadership in that. Okay, that's all I got. Last call to the audience. Actually, wait a minute. Ashley, got anything for us?
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Okay.
I do
Maria, you
have
got
a
something?
report, though.
Go ahead.
I do. So I did, in spirit of our early voting agreement talks, I wanted to give an update. So as some of you know, it was originally supposed to be on the agenda for the county commission meeting last Tuesday. They took it off to have discussion, and at this point, we expect the county commission to pass it, but there will be amendments. At this time, I don't know exactly what those amendments will be. I have ideas. Ultimately, the local clerks and the county clerks, we still want to support the county agreement because we think it's the best option fiscally and for the voters. And also now that we've had these public conversations about voting, it's still the best option in regards to public trust behind elections. But depending on what amendments get added, when I bring those amendments back to you, I may or may not be able to recommend them based on what they are. So I do kind of want to prime us for what Plan B could be and what us local clerks are talking about. So depending on what happens, we have a few options. One would be to still attempt to do a countywide agreement, but a local clerk's office would take it up. That's really not feasible because that's a big ask for a local clerk's office to take on, and it was convenient with the county because they already have a centralized office that conducts their statutory portions of elections. That just made it more convenient. So that's really not an option. Option B would be for us to do early voting on our own. That would be the most expensive and the highest strain on staffing resources. I'd probably have to hire a staff member if we were to do that. So then option C for Plan B would then be to do smaller regional agreements. And so obviously I don't have anything before you right now, and I don't know what's going to happen, but in case we can't move forward with the county agreement, I am asking that you consider City of Grand Haven is in a unique position because we are one of the few areas in Northwest Ottawa County that has an asset, which for us would be Central Park Place, that we could utilize to have an early voting location. So if we cannot move forward, I guess I'm asking for a head nod or grace to move forward in creating a regional agreement that would be Northwest Ottawa County that we would be the head of, and we would use our Central Park Place as the location to host that. Benefits are there would still be cost sharing. We would still include a lot of the things that were in the original county agreement, like having a different municipality's clerk or deputy clerk supervise the site each day, so that way it would take strain off of our staffing resources. Again, we would like the county agreement to move forward, but this is what I think would be the best Plan B if that doesn't happen. I guess I'm just asking for your grace in pursuing that in case it doesn't go the way we want.
Okay, it turns out the woman sitting next to you is in charge of Central Park Place, and I'm
And
sure you will get her
we've
full
talked
support.
about it.
Good,
And
all right, perfect.
I will also say I've already put in room reservations just in case
Nice.
that happens.
That's
That
perfect.
hopefully I will be able to poll. And I know, if there's any concerns about, we can put in the cost of renting the rooms into the agreement that then gets shared amongst all of us. So if there are any concerns about taking up a room for 9 days, we would put that into the agreement, but.
I don't think we need a vote, but I think we can get a show of yes support. Yes, support. Okay?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay. Last call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may dial in at 616-935-3203. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers.
Unless I didn't hear it clearly, City Council met with the city attorney, and the city attorney made some recommendations. And the City Council agreed on those recommendations. All 5 of you agreed on those recommendations. 2 of you chose to go against the City Council decision and put something on the agenda. The city attorney did not talk to the BLP. And what I see tonight substantiates some of the things I said initially this evening. You guys don't play together. You don't work together. And what really disturbs me is that 2 of you went to the city attorney, and of course you had to vote yes on it. 1 of you didn't have to vote yes on it. You heard the discussion. You heard that it's wrong. You heard that it's not advised. You heard that it's not the right way to do things, and yet you did them. To me, this council has got personal agendas and politically motivated ambitions, and I truly am disappointed. Mike, I appreciate your comments. Mayor, I appreciate your comments, but I am so disappointed in how this thing went down. It is wrong, and it is a city of Grand Haven that is being run like I don't know what it's being run like. You don't even take the advice of the city attorney. For crying out loud, I don't understand it. I probably will not understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil.
Dave Walters, BLP General Manager again, too. I just want to voice my disappointment as well. I told you before the meeting that you had another whistleblower that had struggled with all the same things that this whistleblower is. And I am 100% in favor of that whistleblower getting a full and independent investigation. But I have been asking for an independent investigation with an independent attorney for 19 months. And this council has denied the Board of Light and Power the ability to go out and get another attorney. Additionally, Mr. Cummins, you suggested three things that we were doing wrong illegally. First of all was the environmental matters on Harbor Island. I have asked, and it's included in that document right there, that we go back and have the attorney that we used during the time that you are talking about come in and brief the council and the board again on what we were doing at that time. It was an attorney that both the council and the city, both the city council and the Board of Light and Power approved. We were acting entirely consistent with that attorney's recommendations at the time, and we're continually told that we did something wrong against attorneys. That's entirely inappropriate. The same thing with the HRC Commission. The Board of Light and Power did do an independent investigation as well as the HRC, and you continue to not refer at all to that independent investigation. Now, I'm sorry that you might not think those are independent, but they were conducted by the insurance authority that we operate. They came in. I was not involved at all. I don't believe the only person that was involved at the BLP was the chair and our human resources director. Now, those are independent. Now, I don't know where a lot of this other stuff is as well, but I expect in the next meeting that you guys go back, read my whistleblower complaints, and do the exact same thing for that whistleblower that you're doing for this one. Assign an independent counsel that I've been asking for 19 months. Assign them, take a look at it, and do it post haste. And then we can look at the emails that were deleted that I'm trying to get. Because a lot of emails are deleted. What we're talking about here is a retention schedule. We implemented a retention schedule that was called into question. I am happy to have it reviewed and reviewed, but we are not telling people to delete emails outside of the approved retention schedule.
Thanks, Dave.
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake, and I also am really appalled by the behavior of our council members Cummings and also Lowe. When you get instructions from council and there's agreement, I think it's a violation. I can't believe it's not against the law for council members to violate what you agreed on and then go ahead and meet with the city attorney. And the city attorney didn't talk to the BLP as he was supposed to. I think this is another example of why the BLP needs their own attorneys. I mean, it seems to me that they're not getting the service from the city attorneys as they should. I personally don't understand how more time couldn't have been spent on what was supposed to be done instead of having maverick council members go out and decide what's best. To me, it's definitely politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
City Clerk, was there a vote
Karen,
in the closed
Karen,
session?
excuse me, Karen,
Was there a
it's
vote?
Karen.
Was
It's
there a vote in the closed session?
It's open. You're out of order.
No
It's-
vote in a closed session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And unless things have really changed, I think Ms. Lowe still doesn't live in the city, even though she sits on this council and makes decisions that will affect everybody's life, that city, for the rest of the residents of this community. But the things I said at the beginning just proved out to be true in this meeting. That you can accuse, people stand up here and use the word criminal conduct when nothing has been even researched. And this comes before the council. Mayor, I appreciate the way that you brought this out, that the truth here is that none of this has been researched. There is no evidence that has been collected, but the charges are brought, and right before absentee ballots go out. You guys are classic. It's unbelievable. It absolutely is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, meeting's adjourned.